Greetings, everybody. Well, we had a long day earlier, and I actually just completed watching the um, Ground Zero, the releasing from last night, and it was kind of hard to watch. But I know it's releasing everything, and then after I do this, I'm gonna go back and start to watch some of uh, um, the first step, like the acknowledging. And I know sometimes it seems like the acknowledging is the same as the addressing and acceptance, but it's not really. How y'all doing? Hey, family, greetings. What's up, Zig T? Hey, Judith, Nalia, Ariel. Um, if you're the same Ariel that had put up something earlier, my heart goes out to you. I was reading back some of the comments and the chats and the stories, and I'm telling you, it breaks my heart. But I do understand that we're all healing as well. I thought you were asleep. But I know I left out yesterday. I had to stop. I needed to process. And I was watching it back, and I just started like thinking about other stuff. Like I should have addressed that, and I wish I would have addressed this. And it was like it's so much shit. And I put in the description, you know, at one point I hated God. And I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about the sex and the rape and abuse and all of that too. And like I said, shit, we're going to need more than 3 days because this here, this shit right here, um, I think it's very traumatic for a kid, teen, preteen, even adult to experience so much trauma at one time. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna put my trigger warning up. And I did. I experienced a lot. And I was watching some of the chat, and people were saying, "You experienced so much as a kid." And the crazy part is, I had been to so many funerals. Like it was so traumatic. I can almost remember the first funeral was my Uncle Johnny. My Uncle Johnny, he died on my mom's birthday. And I remember the little dress I had on. I was standing up in the front seat of what I guess was the limousine. So it was a lot of trauma. I was thinking about like the house and how things were taken and stolen from us, from my family. Like I said, my mom, she inherited 2 houses. My grandfather left her my grandmother's house at 3146 North Earcourse, and that's in Tulsa. And then my aunts and them left my mom the house that we lived in that was buried up on the Indian burial ground. That was built on an Indian burial ground. And so after my mom passed and we left that house, it still belonged to us because it was inherited once my mom passed. It passed down to me and my sister. We have no idea to this day what happened to that house. We have driven past there. It's now a daycare. It's off, I believe, 31st and I almost want to say Mingo or something in Tulsa. It's not a daycare. It's like, what in the fuck? Who gets that money? Where's our money at? Did our stepfather sell it? Because he married her 2 months before she died. So did he get the money? We don't know. Nobody's ever told us. Excuse me. I'm able to having sex at a young age. I started babysitting Mona's son, who got killed a few years ago. It's kind of heartbreaking for me because I never met at the time he was a baby. I used to babysit, but I was so in my mind when a baby, I would pretend to be my baby. And I ate to eat so much, and realized I food. Disgustingly, recklessly. Like you just greedy. And people would say that you're greedy. Why would you eat? Like I didn't know I was doing that. I really didn't. But I understand now that I was processing trauma. And that was my vice because I couldn't do drugs then. I was drinking, but I wasn't like smoking weed at the time or doing hard drugs. I just was eating and drinking and starting to become provocative. I'm breaking up. I might have to take the headphones off. Hold on. Is it clearer? Maybe I'm trying to find my glasses so I don't break. You okay, Tony? Okay. Maybe I have to find my glasses, y'all, so I don't break my glasses. Oh, there they go. Whew. Can't afford to break them. Gratitude for cooking. Would you leave me an orange soda? No. Okay. I wish I could kiss you and love you. But I love you. Okay. If I could have everybody take a moment to like, share, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel, whatever channel you're watching from. Please take a moment to like and share it. What she cooked, she made some plant-based hamburgers, plant-based burgers, and you say your tummy is preparing for the second one? Oh shit! And French fries, and it was delicious. Yes, it was. And she had made them like, if y'all from Cincinnati, you know what Frisch's Burgers is. She made them like Frisch's Burgers because she had went and got a jar of Frisch's tartar sauce, and you know Frisch's Burgers come with Frisch's tartar sauce on it. So she made them that way. It was so delicious. But Maya don't eat tartar sauce, so hers had like mustard and ketchup or something on it. But Maya said it was delicious. Drive careful, Toddy. Just text me, let me know you made it, okay? Okay. I enjoyed you too. Okay. So here we go. So I was 12 years old, and me and my best friend, who lived up the street from my grandma, which is now where I'm living at, of course, because my mom has passed. And at this time, my sister is still staying with us. She's kind of started hating me, but
All right, Toddy. The hate isn't full, okay? But she's started hating me at this point, and I was starting to just be my own person, and I had my best friend, and we starting to do stuff, and my sister started doing hair, so she was doing everybody's hair damn near at McLean High School because that's where she went in Tulsa, and Dookie braids was just coming out, so she was doing my Dookie braids, and me and Creisha was taking pictures. I was in the sixth grade. I was 12, like I said, and I had met my sister's friend. I was just meeting him, just meeting him. His name was Jerome Johnson. And oh gosh. I ain't even got into it yet. What you about to cry for? My God. Jerome was my first boyfriend, my first real boyfriend. And him and I started talking, and he was driving, so he would come. And how old was he? He was 18. Okay. And then also, I'm going to say this too, because I saw somebody had a question about how old D'Angelo was. D'Angelo probably was like 17 at that time. And we were like, I had to be every bit of 8 or 9. Because I think my best friend at the time was like 10 or 11. And he was like 16 or 17 when he wanted to play the game to see who can get it hard. So I just wanted to answer that question for someone who had asked that. And so Jerome and I had started talking and dating, and he became my first real boyfriend. And he and his friends would come over and shoot dice. Rabini, Bobo, they all went to McLean, and they knew my sister. My sister was, she dressed. My sister Trish could dress her ass off. She did hair, so her hair was always cute. Um, and she was cool as fuck, and all the guys knew her. So they would come over from time to time, and they would shoot dice on my grandma's front porch. And so he had happened to see, Jerome happened to see a picture of myself. And when he saw me, he asked Trish who I was and if she would hook me up. And she was like, boy, that's my 12-year-old sister. And he was like, still interested. He didn't give a fuck. Because again, I didn't look like I was 12. And so him and I started talking today, and he would pull up and we would sit out in the car and talk. And the first person to ever give me anything, he gave me a teddy bear ring. And it was real gold because everybody was wearing gold then. And he bought it for me. And this particular night um, was my first time, and it was super traumatic. My life was full of tragedies, I swear for goodness. But it was so traumatic for a lot of different reasons. Okay, one, because it was my first time. It hurt like a motherfucker. Two, in the middle of, my grandmother kicked the door in and saw what was happening and ran and got her 38 and chased him through the door. He ran down the street with one leg in the pants. And it was so traumatic for me. I was crying. I was embarrassed. I didn't know what was about to happen. Um, I was triggered because I just wanted my mama. And I just asked, I was begging for her to forgive me. And I was scared that she was going to tell my sister Trish, and I was asking her not to say anything. And she was like, you better never do that again. And I didn't think that she would come in there because she had been sick all day. She could barely move. So I guess she heard what was happening because the room was right next to her room. That's how just numbskull I was. And so, like, he had to come back and get his car because he ran. He thought she was going to shoot him. He's running down the street, but he left his car in the driveway. So he had to get his vehicle. Jerome was in a car accident. I was laid on the couch asleep. I sat up. It was 3 in the morning. The TV was like, shh. I sat up and looked around like, what the fuck? And I turned it off and I went and got into bed. And I didn't realize my sister had already came in. She was in the bed. And so I got into bed with her again because why I'm sleeping with her. This is the same bed I was just fucking in. And so she didn't know what had happened. So she ended up getting a call early in the morning, and it woke me up too. And they was telling her that Jerome had been in a very bad car accident and almost died. And I felt guilty. I felt like it was all my fault. And I carried that for a very long time as of right now today because I've never said that to anybody else. I felt like it was my fault. If he wouldn't have been there, at that time. And then when I found out that his car accident happened at the time that I rose from my sleep, it fucked me up. It really did. After that, I moved out of my sister's room and started sleeping in the other empty back room we used to play in. Because I just felt like you shouldn't be sleeping in this room anymore. If you could do that, you need to be big enough to not be scared. Go sleep by yourself. He survived it. His face was so fucked up. It wasn't disfigured, but it had cut the whole side of his face up. Like it was cut up really bad. And I didn't care. I liked him. I loved him. He was my first everything. Um, I hurt him later in such a way because of my brokenness. Because he really wanted to talk to me. And then I had heard about his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, that, he had been kind of whatever, supposedly talking back to, named Tracy. And he kept telling me that wasn't it. Like, that he wanted to be with me. And I couldn't hear that. So other guys had started wanting to talk to me and had been lying on me anyway. And so I just told him, like, I don't want to be with you no more. I want to talk to other people. And that crushed him. That fucked him up. You know what I'm saying? So I became promiscuous, but it didn't happen overnight. Like, once my sister moved out and act like she didn't want to be around me, because she first moved out from the stepfather. Then when I went to stay with my grandmother across the street with her, she moved out and stayed with her stepmom and her step grandma that I had no affiliation or connection to. And so then when that happened, I went to stay with my best friend, Kelly Day, at the time. Her and her mom took me in, and I started staying there. And that's where everything started to happen. Um, I started fucking with this blood named Danny Owens. Fucked him, didn't know that all the little boys at the neighborhood was at the window watching and laughing. That was humiliating to me. Oh, here we go. So then um, I started talking to this guy named Adonis. And he was trying to have sex with me, but I just didn't want to have sex with him. He was on top of me grinding. I just wouldn't let him do it. I just didn't want to. And so when we had went to school, because I used to go to Gilcrease Middle School in Tulsa. And so we all went to school together. And I was walking down the hallway, and this has happened to me more than one occasion, but never in school and never in front of the entire school. As I'm walking in the hallway, Adonis came up behind me and pulled my pants down. And I was like so embarrassed. I was angry and I was embarrassed. And I pulled them up and I was like, if you wanted to see something, all the fuck you had to do was ask, you know? And I pulled the top, like the booty cheek of my pant up so he could see the panty. Like, damn, all you had to do was ask. Like, did you want to see this or you want to see that? And I threw my leg up. And so I don't know why I responded that way, but I did. And so I went and I reported him. I went to the principal. I didn't go to the dean. I didn't go to the vice principal. I went to the principal. And he said that he would have the conversation. And so then the vice principal pulled me in her office, and she was a female. All Melanin staff. Everybody's Melanin in the school at this time. And she says, well, Donna said that you told him all he had to do was ask if he wanted to see this or see that. And I'm like, ma'am, he pulled my pants down in front of everybody. They were not trying to hear nothing I had to say. He was a basketball star. And I guess that's enough said on that shit. So then I started messing with this guy named Junebug. I fucked him. And then there was a guy in my class who wanted to talk to me named Steven. So I fucked him. And all the little boys, I didn't know they were at the window again. Found that out later, humiliating to me. And when I say later, I mean directly after they were at the window, laughing and banging on the window. He basically let me know that they were out there, and I was embarrassed. So then I noticed that, like I said, everybody had been wanting to talk to me. This was before I even started having sex. And I had started dating this guy. Rest in peace to Kunta Jordan. I've known him since I was a little girl. So then we started going to Gilcrease together. Um, my father used to call him his little nephew when I was little. We all grew up in Comanche projects together. Again, rest in peace to Kunta. And so he was one of my boyfriends. Kunta used to be so fucking fresh, bro. He was the first guy that I ever seen with a bomber jacket. And he wanted to kiss me, and I'm like, no. And we made an appointment in the hallway where I was supposed to kiss him, and I couldn't do it. So then like Vegas started trying to talk to me, Vegas Penny. Then his cousin Marcus Penny had moved down there from wherever, Chicago or something. And me and him started dating. He made me feel so fucking pretty, bro. Just it wasn't even much that he had to do or say, but Marcus Penny made me feel pretty as fuck. I was in the 6th grade. And this particular day, my sister did my doodle braids and they were super long. And I was really cute this day. And I looked up from my class door and Marcus was standing there. And, he was waving at me. He just made me feel special because he wasn't trying to fuck me. But then I believe it was him that told me, like, all these guys trying to talk to you. And I'm like, whatever. So my teacher, Mr. Ware, he worked at Gilcrease. If there's somewhere in the world that you're watching, I want you to know I hate you because I thought you were cool as fuck. You was one of my favorite teachers till you did the shit you did. Until I heard everything that you did. And for that, I hate you because I feel like you gained the trust of the girls in the class, which was mainly what was in the class was young girls. And he started like massaging my shoulders, whispering in my ear, telling me how pretty I was. And he would do it with a smile. He coached football and basketball. He was a coach, always smiling. Great artist. He fed my artistry. I'm an artist because of him. He let me know that I could do it. I was so intrigued. And then he told me, I really wish you could be my woman. And I was like, I didn't know what to say. I just was sitting there. He was rubbing my shoulders, whispering in my ear, like, like I really want to fight him right the fuck now. I swear for goodness. Then I later found out, I believe it was Lola Love that told me, like, he was keeping them after school from time to time, like tutoring, quote unquote. But he was really, like, I guess, molesting girls at the school. And I knew that shit was wrong. So I went to the dean of students, Mr. Harris. And I told him what he did. And I said it just made me feel uncomfortable. And Mr. Harris looked at me with his bug eyes. I hate you too. And I cannot think of what your assistant name was, but she was a fucking cunt that kissed your ass and did whatever, and she was smelling like too. And to both of you, I hate you because you didn't protect me when I came to you. Matter of fact, this is what you did. Mr. Harris looked at me and said, Miss Dean, I believe that you just upset because he's married and you can't have him. I said, what? I said, excuse me? Miss Dean, all the boys say you easy. I said, easy to do what? I was confused. I wasn't even fucking. I wouldn't even kiss Kunta. That's how shy I was. I was so confused. All the boys, and it started replaying in my mind. All of them that were coming on to me trying to be my boyfriend when I thought I was just pretty. Then I realized, oh, you're not pretty. Yo. I said, easy to do what? Miss Dean, they all said that they having sex with you. My mouth dropped. I said, what? I said, I'm not even, I'm a virgin, Mr. Harris. He said, Miss Dean, and that's all I can remember. I do not remember what he said after Miss Dean. I do not remember leaving his office. I do not remember what happened for the rest of that day. I don't remember pretty much school after that, except for a couple incidents. I remember Brandon used to jack off in class. He used to put his arms in his shirt and jack off. I remember the Hispanic girl named Isabella because she used to let me play with her hair. I remember the one bitch who ended up having kids by Vegas Penny because she wanted to fight me. And I told that bitch whenever she was froggy that we could get it. But she was a bully of the school at Gilcrease. She was super tall, bald headed bitch, stiff back, big booty. And she was a bully. And she thought she was going to intimidate me, and she didn't. And really, after that, I got suspended because I started writing on my pants, just writing cuss words and everything. I started bringing Mad Dog 2020 to school in a bottle, a baby bottle, and I would drink it. And then I got expelled for writing nigger on my pants, and I didn't even spell it correctly, but Mr. Harris couldn't wait to fuck with me. So he suspended me. I sat in the office because he had it was like a holding cell for kids, y'all. It was one room with a door with windows, and you had to sit in there and wait by yourselves. It was just nothing but kids. It looked like a holding cell for a jail. And we be in there sitting on top of tables, all kind of shit, just in there. I had my baby bottle in there with me. Mm. I stopped combing my hair. That's when that happened. And I started fighting. I didn't give a fuck because I was tired. All of the rumors. So then that's when I decided I was going to start fucking. Because if they was already saying I was fucking, I might as well fuck. So I started fucking Jerome. That's when I first started fucking with him. I was going to Gilcrease. You know how many girls was pregnant at my school because they wanted babies? So then I started wanting a baby because they were pregnant. It was so intriguing to me to see the stretch marks and see the stomachs. I started skipping. We would go through Mr. Ware's class and skip. Start skipping with Tamisha. She was dating some neighborhood crips. They were all older. That's the first time I ever smoked a blunt. I thought we were smoking out of brown paper bags. I didn't know what the fuck. I was high as a kite. I was free in my mind. I started stealing my grandma's cigarettes out the ashtray and different shit. I remember doing all kind of shit. We would steal and drink her cooking wine and drink that shit. It went so deep for me that when I wasn't drinking, I would pretend that I was drinking. I would take cups and put aluminum foil over it and pop the top. And in my mind, I would drink beer because I felt like I needed it. So then we were kind of like more over to the step grandmother's house that was across the street from my real grandma, and that's where some of that molestation came in at. Now my other cousins, they had did certain things to me, you know, like pulling my legs up, like they fucking me and shit. But I would be embarrassed. Like the guy Reggie down the street started fucking my sister. She was 11 at the time. My sister, who I was the same age, that means I was 11. And that's when we would be out in the front yard. I was a tomboy, so I was wrestling. I didn't know that he was being sexual with me. I just thought, you know, and I was 11. So at the time, like my hygiene wasn't what it should have been because who the fuck was teaching me? Before my mom died, she would make us take baths and shit, get in the tub, wash your panties out. Yeah. She never talked to us about proper hygiene. She never talked to us about sex for real. Our sex talk was girls got three holes. One you pee out of, one boy stick you and bleed in, and one you shit out of. Don't do it. That's all I remember. Except for the one time we got beat so fucking bad because of something that one of my other sisters did. Got caught talking to a boy. And this is one of the times we had to get in the tub and not dry off. My skin was broken all over my body. Mm. She had beat us so bad. Like the webs were opening. I was so angry. And they sat us down for probably about an hour after the whooping, the beating, and talked to us about if we ever have sex, like what they would do to us. And then my stepfather, he said, and gave us in vivid detail how this man had raped this girl and stuck his whole arm in her inside and pulled all of her insides out. And that's what was going to happen to us if we ever had sex. And we were never to scar up our legs. He said our legs had to always be beautiful, and we better never scar our legs. He was such a monster. He would plant money in the house. My stepfather. This particular time, it's this the one time that sticks out. I believe I've talked about it before. He would plant money in the house. He would steal stuff out our house. He would steal our Christmas gifts, and he would take them to his other families and women. And his children lived there with us. He was stealing from us, them too, their Christmas gifts. And he would beat my mom afterwards and say that she was fucking different men, and that's who was stealing it, or that her brother Buster was stealing it and fucking my mom. And he planted money one time under the couch cushion. And when we came home, we had had a good day that day too. And He started talking crazy, asking my mom who she had in the house. And she was like, Charles, don't start that shit. Ain't nobody been in this house. And he flipped over the couch cushion and said, where the fuck this 20 come from? And we all knew that he put it there. Why? Because my mom didn't play about the house being clean. We used to have those little things that look like brooms called whisks. And we used to have to take that and sweep under the couch cushions. So we knew there was no money under there. My mom kept saying she didn't know how it got under there. Somebody had to put it there. And that was the day that he beat her up really bad and smashed her head through walls and through mirrors. Oh my goodness. That was the day I got pushed down for trying to help her. I was screaming like to get off of her. And I always say, like the mirror, it felt like such a, I don't know, because it was my favorite mirror. It was so pretty to me. And he took my mother's head and he slammed her head through the mirror and broke it. Damn. In this moment, I can kind of remember seeing my mom on the floor in the kitchen where he had beat her up. Damn. The shit was so crazy, so traumatic. So now I'm just fucking. I've been embarrassed because I've had a couple situations where hygiene wasn't what it should have been. Like before I started having sex, I had an incident as a young, like I was 12 or 13. And I had good hygiene, but I was on my period and he wouldn't take no for an answer. So we had sex and it was fine. But he wanted to have sex again that next morning. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. Hey, because it's bleeding, you know. And I was embarrassed, one, because there was an odor. And two, because Ronnie was pissed because we had blood all over his bed. But I didn't want to. But I didn't want Jerome not to be my boyfriend no more either. And so I was so embarrassed because I kept telling him no. So I just sat because my sister was there with me because she was now dating Ronnie. She was dating Ronnie White. And she was there with him in the room. And so I just went and sat on the couch and I put my coat over my head and I sat there for the rest of the day like that. Jerome thought it was funny, but I was super embarrassed. I really never wanted to talk to him again. And that was shortly after that when I had told him, like, I heard about Tracy. And then I told him I just didn't want to talk to him anymore. Jerome and I talked again right before, because once I just lost control at Gilcrease, I was in the seventh grade. At this point, I went crazy at that point. So the beginning of my eighth grade year, I became a cheerleader for Gilcrease. Um, my grandmother in Cincinnati had sent me all of the money. I needed $75. She sent it to me, and I was able to get my uniform and everything that I needed. And I went to practice, and I was so shy. It was me trying to just come out of my shell and be different and be out, you know. I just wanted to talk and to be liked by people. And we were practicing in the gym, and everybody was running. And why me? I'm the only one in the gym. And I was trying to run, and I was trying to run and keep up with everybody. And I'm the only one that found the fucking water on the floor and slipped and fell. And I was so embarrassed in front of everybody because I was so shy. It probably seemed stupid, but I was so shy that was super traumatic for me because everybody was laughing. I just felt like it was always something where I was being embarrassed or somebody was pointing fingers at me and there was already rumors about me. So I just wanted to be accepted. And I didn't want people to want to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was tired of the boys harassing me at that point. It was just a lot. I got to cheer at one game. And so I got sick of my cousins being on top of me and doing all this other shit. So I had started talking to one of my cousins from Cincinnati. Him and I would talk on a regular basis. Mm, I didn't realize I was being groomed for the second part of my fucked up life. And he would talk to me all the time because he just made me feel safe. So then I started talking to my daddy, and he had told me I had siblings that I later found out were like his stepchildren. They weren't his biological children. He said I had siblings, and I would talk to them, and I told him I really want to come there. I can't take it here anymore. And my dad was not no, he was a junkie. He was a junkie. His girlfriend was a junkie, and that's just the life that they was living. They lived like junkies with the children. But I didn't know that at the time. I just wanted to be rescued. That's the fuck it. Just somebody help. Sometimes I couldn't even eat. Like there was a period, like, okay, me and Kelly just started wilding out doing shit. So her mom said I had to leave. Because Kelly got caught fucking in the house. So she said I had to leave. So I ended up having to go to my sister's step mom's house where her and her son lived, and my sister's stepfather. May he rest in peace. I don't give a fuck if he's still alive. May he rest in piss. Piss. I hate him too. Gerald Drew, I hate you for all the ways that you fucked me up too. How you fucked my sister up, how you fucked my niece up. I hate you. May you rest in peace. And I couldn't stay there long because it was only a 1 bedroom. So I ended up having to go to my sister's step grandma house where she was staying at. That's where she had moved to after my grandma house. She moved there with her step people. She was very pissed off that I came there. She felt like I was following her. She didn't want to be bothered with me anymore. So she was there for a while. And then she moved out and moved in with her friend Regina, who still stayed out there in the projects. This was like, I think this was Morning Star in Tulsa. And I think a lot happened at that time. That's when a lot of the grown man had pulled me in the little cubby hole of the apartments and, telling me he liked me. And, like I said, I was like 12, 13. And he's like, he wanted to talk to me and shit. And, it was just a lot of that going on. And then my sister had got word of that. Like, why the fuck is she's pregnant at the time? She was 4 months pregnant. And she had got word that I was talking to him. I didn't do anything. He told me to come here, you know? He hit me with this. Let me tell you, because everything is relevant. I was on my period. And I didn't have no pads, and didn't nobody give a fuck that I didn't have no pads, bro. And I didn't know what to do. Why? Because I'm 13. So I was just rolling tissue up, putting it in my panties. So as I'm walking to the basketball court, because I was going to watch my cousins play basketball, because he was damn near a kissing cousin. He used to touch on me too, but whatever. When we talked about going skinny dipping the other day, Maya, and you asked, like, we was like, has anybody ever been? And I said, yeah, I was 12. This is what that was. Mm, mm, okay. So I'm walking to the basketball court, and I guess he had been watching me before then, he was like, hey, you dropped something. And in my mind, my heart is beating fast because I thought the tissue had fell out of my panties. And I was so embarrassed, I was scared to look down. So I looked down and he started laughing. He said, you dropped this conversation. Come here, let me talk to you. And I'm like, oh, he's just one of those. Like, okay. So he like pulled me in a little, the little, you go up the steps like you go into somebody's apartment, the little cubby way. And he's telling me that he wanted to talk to me, thought I was pretty and XYZ. And I don't even know who seen me and wasn't doing it's broad daylight. I wasn't doing anything. So then my sister told me to come here. So my brother was like, Trish, won't you? So I went in there and my sister had this long switch. And she, like I said, she was 4 months pregnant. And she just always was trying to be my mom at this point. At this point, it was over. You didn't like me. You didn't want to be around me. And at this point, it was like, fuck you. And I didn't give a fuck. I already found out because she didn't know or I didn't know if she knew, but I thought she knew. So I was already in my feelings because I was talking to this guy named Sean. And this happened twice to us. This happened twice. I used to talk to this guy named Floyd. And he went to school with me, and I was so, excited to talk to him with his fucking fat ass. He was older than I was at the time. And I found out my sister, she had this new little boyfriend. And I can't remember what his name was till we found out it was the same person. He had changed his name. But it was like he had chose my sister, and my sister was like feeling some type of way because we didn't know it was the same person. So then I would start talking to this guy out in Morningstar named Sean. And my fake kissing cousin, um, him and these guys had beat this man up so bad they went in his house in broad daylight, put him out of his house, stomped him, beat him almost to death. And I ran to my people house to go tell my sister. And I believe she was pregnant at the time too. And they was in there and she was like sitting on top of him, like straddled him. And I opened the door and I was shocked because I never realized that my Sean was her Cleveland. I just closed the door back, told her like, oh, Rico got into a fight and closed the door. I could not fucking believe it. I was so angry with her after that, like, because that was the second time. And I thought, what is it about her? Like, this bitch don't even fucking like me, you know? She's always trying to be my mama. I was irritated. So when she had told him to tell me to come here, and she was holding that switch, and she was like, I'm gonna beat your motherfucking ass. If you keep talking to these grown men, I was like, you're not gonna do shit. I said, if you hit me with that, I'm gonna beat you up. All I know is she swung the switch and it felt like it wrapped around my waist. And I was instantly triggered. I don't know how fast I got there. All I know is that our brother, her brother, that I call my brother, was separating us. He was pulling me off of her. She was sitting on the couch and I was on top of her. We was fighting. And he kept saying she's pregnant. And I didn't care because I feel like she didn't care. I feel like she didn't care about me. So I didn't care about any of it. I didn't. I didn't care about any of it. And then I started to hate myself because I felt bad for that. So then I called my cousin in Cincinnati and I was crying. I went to a payphone. I ain't had no money. I went to a payphone. It was nighttime. Nobody knows this. And I did a collect call. And he was staying with my grandma, so he accepted the call. And I was crying. I said, somebody has to come and get me. Somebody has to save me. I can't take it. I cannot live like this anymore. And my grandmother sent a plane ticket. She had tried to get me at 11 and sent the bus ticket, and I got on the bus and then I got off because I was crying. I could not. So then she sent the plane ticket with a child's tag, meaning The flight attendants would put me on a plane, take me off the plane for the layover, sit me in a room where I could play. If I was a kid, they had toys and puzzles and TVs. It was a layover in St. Louis. And then they put me back on the plane, and then I landed in Cincinnati, and my aunt was waiting there with a sign that said Quatita. And I recognized her because she looked like me. She was just light skinned. She had moles just like me. And I felt at ease in a sense because I don't look like my sister. But I was looking, when I got to Cincinnati, I was looking at people that had my face. They looked like me. And the majority of them had moles like me. And I wasn't there, I don't believe, more than 3 months when they let me know that I was a fucking stranger and that I didn't belong there. Who the fuck are you? Go back where the fuck you came from. And I felt like I had been tricked. And then that's really when the touching began and waking up and the inappropriateness and the humiliation and the constant wanting to be embarrassed and then the heavy drinking. The heavy drinking. I was allowed to drink. I didn't have to sneak now. We had family gatherings and parties. I could drink. My aunt, me and my aunt, that was my favorite drinking buddy. So this particular time, and this is when I beat up the white boy too. I start going to South Junior High in Mount Healthy. I was finishing out my 8th grade year, and the little white boy, we was cool, and he just started being real mean to me. I was like, okay, bitch. And he cussed me out, called me a bitch. I was like, what? I beat his ass in this lunchroom. I beat his ass. I had never blacked out. It was the first time I ever blacked out. When I came back to, no lie, his name was Rob. He was on his knees with his hands in a praying position. I could hear myself screaming to the top of my lungs, and somebody had me choking me by the back of my shirt. It was Mr. Roberts. He was trying to pull me off of him. I was beating him in his face. The last thing I had remembered was him calling me a bitch, calling me a motherfucker, telling me to move as because at that point, he had already talked crazy to me, and I told him I'm gonna get you. So when I seen him go dump his tray, I got up to dump my tray. I told everybody at my table, watch this, because I knew what I was about to do. So when I said, move, motherfucker, he called me a bitch, and Mr. Roberts was standing there. And I said, oh, you're not gonna say anything? He said, I didn't hear it. I said, no problem. I walked behind Rob. This is the last thing I remember to save my life. Just the last thing I remember. I remember I grabbed Rob by the back of his neck and slammed his face hard as fuck into the wall. And next thing I knew, that's when I was being choked by the back of my shirt, drugged away. Mr. Roberts was dragging me by my collar from the back. He was choking me with my shirt. And Rob was in a praying motion on his knees. I was scared to death because that had never happened to me. I was outside of myself. I could hear myself screaming. I didn't know who the fuck was screaming until I came back to. And when I did, I let Rob go because I was being choked. I didn't know what the fuck was happening. I could not believe it. I remember him dragging me to the office, barely. I remember Mr. Westerfield talking crazy to me and me back to him. I remember my grandmother picking me up. After that, I understood my life was not going to change or get better. It seemingly was about to get worse. I started smoking cigarettes, Newports, with this white bitch, Jessica Mullen, because she went to school with me too. I would go to her house and she was smoking Newport. So then I started smoking. I was already drinking. My family house was the party house. Everybody on Neptune Drive, they knew us and they hated it because why? We was the party house. And my people was crazy. They would fight. They would fight each other. They would fight anybody else. They was quick to go shoot something up. They did not give a fuck. It was all exciting to me because I came from chaos. I was already used to abuse and all of the fighting. So this was my world. This was my zhush. I fucking loved it. I went to school every day. My grandmother made sure of it. My grandmother ran a daycare. She ran a business by day, and we would fucking drink and party by night and get up and do it all over again. My grandmother ran two businesses. My grandmother had a janitorial service. She cleaned for all the rich people in Amberley Village and Indian Hills and all of that shit. That's how she met the judge who would get my daddy and my grandma and them, my uncles and them off. He was a judge because he loved my grandma. And then she ran the daycare through Hamilton County. So my daddy and I never had a really good relationship in the GM. And then I was introduced to my law sister. And I school the girl out was my she had an adoption and they changed her birthday. But she didn't know. She didn't know until we did. And the crazy one is one of my cousins had talking to her on the day he pulled up to my grandma's house. That's how I already knew. My daddy never claimed. Can y'all hear me? Wait a minute. Can y'all hear me? No, it's back. It clicked out. The phone had died. Didn't die. The service that stopped. But y'all can hear me. I don't know what's the last y'all heard, cause I was just in it. I was just going. I didn't started sweating at this point. Okay, we back. I don't know where to pick up. The last y'all heard was the Gino. Oh, y'all didn't miss. Y'all didn't miss about 5, 10 minutes of this shit. Oh shit! Wait a minute. Well, damn, that's the last y'all heard. Wowzers. Okay. Well, the Genome was my stepmom, and she used to do horrible shit. She used to say horrible shit. Smoking Newports was the last you heard? Yeah, y'all been gone for a minute. Yeah, I started smoking Newports. Okay, I started smoking cigarettes. And I was allowed to smoke and drink after that because I asked my aunt. My aunt said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "I want a cigarette." She was like, "You want a cigarette? You smoke?" I said, "Yes." So my aunt gave me a cigarette, so it was okay for me to smoke after that. Because my aunt told my grandma told my daddy, and my daddy said it's her fucking lungs, let her do what she want to do. So that's what I did. I started smoking and drinking, and my stepmom, which was the genome, was horrible to me. I don't know how much of that you heard. And I started fucking with my daddy's best friend. So I started fucking with his best friend, and that was because he had been flirting with my friend Lisa. His friend had been, his cousin had been off me, but I was not interested, and so he started flirting with me, and so he was my best friend. So my dad would pick us up. I'm gonna just circle back to the other shit, because basically what I'm saying, what I said was, it was always trauma in my house. It was always fighting in the household. It was always somebody getting hit with something, fighting, knocking windows out. It was just very violent always. So me and my dad, we started to build our relationship, but it was built on brokenness. It's breaking up because they don't want y'all to hear this story. Let me see. It's my Wi-Fi, you know. Give me a minute. Let me turn the Wi-Fi on. Let me see if it'll help. Better. Let me know if it's better. Oh, let me have some food. And you can turn on some light if you want me to cut this one on. Okay. I had to turn on the Wi-Fi just to make sure. What the fuck? Where did they come from? Where did they come from? Give me a minute, y'all. Elevator music, Maya. Okay. All of these ants, where did they come from? Wowzers. Oh, okay. Hold on. You got me fucked up. No, there's never been ants in here. Never. How long?
Gratitude. You are on a walk with the ancestors, Miss Dean's YouTube channel. We appreciate your support of the hate you give. Here we go. Step 2. Please continue to hold.
I bet y'all over there doing the cha cha and all kind of shit. Okay. So they over here sending more pestilence. It was so many fucking ants just now. I don't even know where the fuck they would have come from. Whew, okay. Please avoid blocking the exit. Okay. I entitled this one The Hate You Give, like the movie, because sometimes the hate we give is to ourselves. All of this shit, man, just started to make me hate myself. I really began to hate things, people, myself, I could find fucked upness in anything, anyone. Like, I see your fucked upness. And so, hmm, out of, the gun being pulled on me, my cousin pulled a gun on me and, just making me feel, I'm hot as hell. You hot? Okay, cool. It's probably just me because I'm moving. And that just fucked me up. Um, you know, sometimes we don't know how to handle the shit. You see any more? Um, and I didn't. I did not know how to handle that shit. So I increased in my drinking, increased in my smoking. Me and my friend, who became my best friend, um, we began like jumping in and out of guys' cars, just fucking everybody. I mean, I became so promiscuous. And we could use the word hoe. You know, people like everybody had their hoe moments. Listen, you can use whatever word you want to use. I was a broken, fragmented child that was promiscuous. And it became so bad. And I told this story before that my father was in a car with some guys and they was talking about bitches and hoes and all the little hoes they be fucking. And they was talking about these two little young bitches that they thought was this and that, and they trying to fuck them and the shit that they just did the other night. And my daddy like, hell yeah, where they from? They out here. Oh, what their name is? Oh, XYZ and Quatita. My daddy said he had to act like he didn't know. He was so embarrassed because Quatita, that's my daughter. But see, okay, my sister had told me basically she was giving me a warning to kind of watch out for my father. She said that she had graduated on the night of her graduating from high school. They all had been kicking it, and she had went back to my daddy's house, and she had fell asleep on the floor. And she said when she woke up, my father was rubbing his dick on her leg. And she said she jumped up and ran out the house. And like after that, like their relationship was really changed and they didn't really communicate like that because she couldn't believe it. Then I started getting the stories from my uncle's ex-girlfriend and ex-girlfriend at the time. They were him and her were back and forth. She's the one that he beat so badly. They called it the Valentine's Day Massacre. He had beat her and kicked her, and when he kicked her in her head, it scalped her. And they had to reattach her scalp to her head. And when they came, he beat her down. She was holding his collar. So when he beat her down, she wouldn't let go of the collar because of the trauma. Her hands were stuck to it, ripped his shirt. The collar was in her hands. And he beat her down and he kicked her. When he kicked her, he scalped her in her head. But they fucked around for years, even after that point. And she had told me like all of the ways that my dad, had like, the shit that they did. But she told me that one night she caught my daddy at her window, watching her undress. He had jacked off and cum. He had left cum all on her window. That's when I found out my daddy was a pervert and a peeping Tom. Because I didn't know that. And then it was later that I found out that he knew that my daughter had been molested, that her little cousins, my little cousins, her big cousins, my little cousins, had stuck a pencil in her vagina. And she told my daddy, and my daddy punished her and put her in a corner and told her she was never to play with boys. And they wanted to try to keep that from me because they knew me. They know the turn up in me. They knew what I would do. I found it out years later when I took her to therapy. Um, and she had told the therapist that. And the therapist had told me. And I was so angry that he had made her stand in a corner. And so then it was just always one thing after another with my family. My cousin kissed me in my mouth and calling me trying to fuck me and I need some pussy. And, my uncle calling me at 4 in the morning. I'm 14. Hey, you want to come out and hang with me? I'm 14. Why the fuck would I? Oh, come on. What you mean? Oh my goodness. Everybody just act like they don't know this shit. And you can't say nothing because what? Are they going to be mad? Man, fuck y'all, bro. The house full of fucking perverts and pedophiles. I asked my aunt because word came back to me. Now, mind you, my father, he's gone, but he had tried to convince me for like 2 weeks, even tricking me, bribing me. He wanted me to come, quote unquote, fuck his friend and let him watch me fuck him and he would pay me. He said he didn't want to participate. He just wanted to be present. And he kept trying and he offered me drugs and he came over and brought me coke and he shot up and I snorted the coke. Like we used to do drugs together because he was trying to fuck me. And he got mad when he couldn't do it. So then he told my grandmother I tried to poison him. This was the last day he tried. And I said, "No, Daddy, I ain't gonna do that. I'm sorry, I can't do that." And he was sitting in my bathroom with the door closed. He was shooting up. He had came to my house. I had to go to work. I was working at Frisch's at the time off of Queen City, um, Guest Street in Cincinnati. And I had to go to work. I worked 3 to 11. And he came over before. And he was like, "I got a little something for you." I was like, "What?" Because I would do coke sporadically. I wasn't no coke head. But if you had this shit, pop it on the table. Let's go. You know. So he's like, "I got something for you." I said, "What you got?" He was like, "I got some coke." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." How old was I? 19. Hmm. Yep, I was 19. And I say, all right, cool. So he said, "I ain't gonna do that. I got mine. I'm gonna go in the bathroom." I said, "Okay." So he was in there shooting up and I'm snorting the coke and, about to roll me a joint. And he called me to the door. And I said, "Hey, Daddy, I ain't gonna do all of this." I said, you want the rest of this?" And he said, "Hey, dig," because that was his word, dig. "Hey, dig. Um, I got 50 for you." I said, "For what?" "Well, I don't want to participate. I just want to watch, my friend." I said, "Daddy, I already told you I'm not doing that." He had then called me over the week like several times trying to get me. And he had just popped up this day. I didn't think I never thought my daddy was just coming to see me. But he was still trying to make fucking fetch happen. So he ended up coming out or whatever. I gave him the rest of the coat. He leave. I get dressed. I go to work. I'm at work maybe an hour. The phone ring. Because at this time, I'm working a register. I do the drive through and I cash people out. I was also a server. But at this time, this day, I was working a register. And he called and I answered the phone. And he said, Quatita, what did you put in that dope? I said, "What? Daddy, what is you talking about? I'm at work. What did you put in that dope? You didn't try to fucking kill me." I said, "What?" I snorted some of that and I shook and passed out. Yeah, you trying to kill me. And my grandmother and them basically told me I was no longer allowed at her house. And that happened quite often behind him. No matter what he said or what he did, him and his girlfriend cleaned out my grandmother's bank account while she was in the hospital. She acted like nothing happened. But soon as they had said that I did anything, I was always excommunicated. Don't come back over here. Don't bring your ass to my house. Like, it used to be the craziest shit, bro. And it's like, I really just wanted my grandma to, love me. But it just was always like everybody just loved my grandma. Miss Mabel, Miss Mabel. Miss Mabel was 30 a lot of times to me, bro. You couldn't say that because it'd hurt people. My grandma was not always cool, bro. What you say about, listen, my grandmother would take all my motherfucking money sometimes, bro. Do you know, it was years that I would have to, a particular year, this particular year, I used to get $350 something from my mom after she passed for Social Security. And my grandmother would take the majority of that because, you got to live and you got to pay to live. And she would give me $100. And after $100, I had to buy school clothes, pads, and food. I didn't even have money for school clothes, bro. So then I didn't know what to do. So I went to Family Dollar and went school shopping. And they talked about me and my family. And the fuck would you do that for? Because who the fuck else was going to take me? So then she gave me a little bit more money and had my uncle take me up to Value City because my Aunt Kim worked there. And this is the day that I told him how it made me feel him fucking molesting me. And he said he wouldn't do it anymore until he did. They made sure to always embarrass me. And then if you didn't have no money and it was a fend for yourself kind of day, then what the fuck you gonna eat? Because my uncle who stayed there would write his name on what it was his. And you could not eat that or drink that or touch that. And if it was nothing in there, you know, so now I got to go hang out and kick it. So most of the time, like, we just doing shit, jumping in and out of niggas' cars. You know what I'm saying? Walking around, hoping to get a couple dollars from somebody. Shit. I just feel like nothing was ever made easy. It was always somebody with my fucking name in their mouth. Want to talk about me. Like, don't know me, but got my name in their fucking mouth. Like, the shit be crazy. And it's always been like that. But the crazy part is, I was always the cool motherfucker in school. I just didn't have the clothes that, Shalonda had or Tasha had or Zakia had or Ebony had or. Those were the popular girls. Those were my friends, but they were the popular ones. I hung with them from time to time. In school, we'd talk, you know, or I hung with Tiffany Lowe. She was my cool cat. And then I looked around and we all was getting pregnant. I knew why I was pregnant. My motherfucking baby daddy was 38. I was 16. And everybody was pissed. They didn't even know who I was pregnant by. So my daddy took me to Children's Hospital because I had been sick. I was throwing up. I thought I had the flu. I had been cramping, so I knew my period was coming. So that wasn't in my mind. Although I had got a reading and the lady told me pregnancy, a baby was coming. And that had slipped my mind because my friend Lisa was just at the end of her pregnancy with her friend. I mean, with her baby. It was just like me and my friends, it went like that. Roxanne got pregnant, Lisa got pregnant, I got pregnant. It was crazy. Then Roxanne got pregnant again. But Roxanne was grown. When I started hanging with Roxanne, Roxanne was like 25. I was like 15. Lisa was 17. And we just did whatever the fuck. Like we would, like this particular time, we met this guy. We made him catch the bus because he had the weed. We made him catch the bus to Bracken Woods with us to my daddy and them house. Smoke this nigga weed and then put him out. And then give a fuck how the fuck he was getting back. He just stood outside for a long time. We didn't give a fuck. We would just do shit, bro. Didn't give a fuck. We hated everything. Lisa mama was a Jehovah's Witness and she was mean as fuck. It was like crazy shit. You know, everything was an abomination to Lisa's mom. You know? So when Lisa could get out the house, she cut up. And I was the cut up buddy because I was cutting up anyway because fuck life. Didn't nobody give a fuck and I didn't give a fuck either. Still fighting. Me and Lisa, we'll go to your house. We was them. We'll pull up to your house. Bitch, come outside. Catch these hands. That's why I be laughing at these bitches. You gonna do what to who? Bitch, I'll knock your whole koofy off and clean your clock, ho. Please never get it twisted. Bitch, I was that one. Ooh, girl. Please stop. Please stop it. Motherfuckers think they know you. They see a little bit of you and think you know me. Bitch, I would go to town. You have no idea. I just started looking around and shit and seeing shit. I had to fight. I was fighting over niggas I didn't even want to fight over. Like, I don't even want to fight you. You want to fight me about this nigga. I don't want to fight you. Cause I don't give a fuck. Fuck that nigga. Bitch, I'm about to go fuck another nigga. What is you talking about? Mm. I mean, that's where all the fighting really started. I became part of the black mafia bitches. And they didn't have a problem fighting. It was crazy. Yeah, it was. It's like crazy as fuck. And I got pregnant because I told this story before as well. Some of you don't know me, so you don't know the story. My baby dad, again, was my daddy's best friend. At this time, he was like 38 and I was 16. And because he was my daddy friend, I didn't think it was wrong to ask him for some money. We were all just standing around because me, my daddy, Eric, which is Toddy's daddy, and my best friend Lisa, who my daddy was at the time trying to fuck. She was 17. Don't worry about it. So we would all go just kick it. They would come and pick me and Lisa up and we would go get drunk. You know what I'm saying? That was our pastime. We would go do that. We would ride around the city. We'd go over Kentucky, go to the bumper. We would sit and we'd get drunk. I wasn't even fucking Eric at the time. Oh, you got that frequency? Mm-hmm. So this particular day, I didn't think nothing of it. My daddy made me feel so fucking stupid. Like we were all standing around watching and talking, watching Doug fix this car, and we was talking. My daddy standing there, so I'm standing there with my daddy, you know, and Eric is standing there too. And Eric pulled out a wad of money. It was a big ass wad of money. And I said, Eric, let me get some. Let me hold something. That's my daddy friend, so I'm just. And my daddy was like, come here, let me fucking talk to you. Come here, dig, Quatita, dig. Don't you ever ask no grown ass man for no money if you can't produce for him. I said, heard you. Now, if you're going to produce for him, that's one thing. I said, heard you. So the next time, Eric wanted to just pick me up. He wanted to get drunk, just me and him. We riding around the city. We go and get a bottle. We riding. I'm motherfucking 16. And at this time, now I'm wearing the short shorts because I think I'm thanging. You know what I mean? So we get pulled over by the police. And the police said, y'all fit the description of somebody that just was burglarizing something. And I said, fit the description? He said, no, sir, this is my niece. I'm just taking her home. In that moment, it clicked in my mind, I shouldn't have been with him. Why only in that moment? That he knew he was wrong because you knew to say I was your niece. He took me to the crossroad. Ain't that significant like a motherfucker? He took me to the Crossroad Motel, and it was dark. And I didn't know if he was putting on a condom, but I was scared to ask him if he was putting on one. That's why I shouldn't have been fucking. I was too scared to even ask him if he was putting on a condom. So when Marshall said that, I understood what she meant. Because I was scared to ask him that. I heard the paper, so I was like, oh, well, maybe he is putting it on. Because I heard him opening it. So we started fucking, but it was quick, just like that. And so he started speaking Spanish, which I didn't even know he could do. And he was saying, like, basically, that pussy belongs to me. You'll never be able to have kids by anybody else. Um, and I got pregnant that night. hmm I did not even know I was pregnant because a couple people around me, like my friend Roxanne, her dude had the flu, and I was had the same symptoms, so I thought I had the flu. So he got some medicine and he gave me the rest of his medicine because it knocked his out. But I was still sick and I was throwing up. I couldn't hold water down. I didn't know what the fuck. So my daddy took me to the hospital. He took me to Children's Hospital. The doctor was pregnant herself. She was 4 months. She was like 18 weeks, I think she said, type shit. Some shit. And so she came back in and was like, one of your tests came back positive. And at this time, I'm like, oh, I got a disease. Oh my God. She said, your pregnancy test came back positive. You're pregnant. I felt like the air in the room got thick as fuck. My daddy looked at me. I looked at her. I didn't want to look at him. I'm like, whoa, what? So she left out. And he like, are you fucking kidding me? You done got pregnant by one of these little niggas. They ain't gonna do shit for you. And I looked him dead in his face. I said, well, Eric better do something. He said, what? I said, you heard what the fuck I said? He left out the door. By the time I got home, everybody in my whole house, my whole family knew. To the point where when I got home, everybody knew. And then my friend pulled up, Roxanne, her and Lisa pulled up to come and just holler at me. They didn't have no clue to see how I was doing because they knew I'd been sick. As I come outside, she looking like, what the fuck? She said, what the fuck is going on? I said, what are you talking about? She said, your aunt just came out here and was asking your uncle, like, I guess you didn't heard what the fuck, Quatita, this, and that. And I said, because I'm pregnant. She said, what? I said, I'm pregnant by Eric. She knew who Eric was. My daddy had been trying to talk to Roxanne. He was trying to fuck everything all the time. It was like, it was embarrassing. So they made sure to embarrass me. And you gonna have abortion, get the fuck out my house. It was just a lot. So I was like, so you want me to leave? She was like, get the fuck out my face, stupid. So after that, like my grandmother wouldn't allow me to get a job. She said my schooling was important. They talked about me like I was a dog, made me feel like shit. I don't know who the fuck don't get abortions. I done had 7 of them. All my aunts have had between 5 to 7 abortions. You can't miss what you ain't never had. I just feel like shit. The worst examples, bro. My cousin, oh, how dare you bring a child into this world? And what if it's a boy? How dare you do that? He ain't gonna have a father. You ain't shit for doing this. Like, bro, you even been less than me. What are you talking about? You're one of my molesters. Like, what are you saying? And then you start fucking my sister. Y'all had started a whole relationship and had kids. Like, it was a lot. And not only was Eric my daddy's best friend, I didn't know at the time. When I first came to Cincinnati, my sister used to hang with a chick named Camille. Camille was super nice to me when I got there. She paid for me to get my hair done, took me, got clothes. Like, she did a lot. And she was talking about how her baby daddy was about to get out. And when he had got out, they had another baby and named him Lil Eric. Yeah, this was her baby daddy. And I was embarrassed because I honestly really didn't put 2 and 2 together like that. And I didn't even care. I didn't give a fuck because I didn't give a fuck about shit. I hated everything. I didn't care. Until she came over, I was like 6 months pregnant. My hair was standing on top of my fucking head. I looked a mess. I felt the mess. And I seen her come in and my whole stomach dropped. And she was coming through one door. And, our house, you could circle in and out of doors coming around. So I'm circling through doors coming in. She's like, come here, let me see. She rubbed my belly like, oh. She was so kind. She was more than a fucking woman. I feel like shit. I feel like shit. I was mad at my half sister. It was my sister's sister. So I call her my sister too. I was mad at her for bringing her because I felt like it was messy. Because she knew. She knew who I was pregnant by. Why'd you bring her over here? She never comes here. She has no reason to, you know? So I was pissed about that, but I felt more pissed about myself because why would you do that? She was nice to you. So I feel like I betrayed her. I didn't mean to. And I did not know at the time. Girl, I feel so dizzy. I do. I feel dizzy. I didn't know at the time that Eric was my sister's first cousin. I just thought he was my daddy's friend. I didn't realize he was my daddy's friend because he was my daddy's baby mama's cousin. And they've always known each other. I didn't know him and my aunt had something back when they was like 19, 17, and she never let me forget it the whole time I was pregnant. He wanted me first, right? Bitch, I don't give a fuck. Please go have him. You know? And then rumors start coming out like, oh, he fucked men. Rumor came out that he had like molested his grandmother. I don't know how true that is. That came out. Yes. Yes. All these different rumors about him were coming out to me. And he was telling people, like he left town. He was left town. And then found out that he was telling people that he never touched me, that I was a liar. He didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. Why would he ever do that? But he had left him and left to Syracuse, New York, where he had family at. And so I was pissed at him. I never wanted to see him again. And that's when, after I had Toddy was like 6 weeks old, and I moved in with my dad in Kentucky, and my dad had went over to the bump. He had been looking for him. I didn't know he was on a search for him because somebody had told my daddy that he was back in town, and my daddy got dressed, never said a word to me. Got dressed, went to the bump, said he going to the bump. I said, cool. He went looking for him and found him, pulled up on him, said, you lied to me. Said you never fucking touched my daughter. Said Eric broke down crying. I'm so sorry. He wasn't. And I believed what he said because I've never been able to. I haven't been pregnant, of course, like I said, my son, but I've never had another baby, and that was the only pregnancy was my son. After that, I lost my uterus. I believed he cursed me. I was just like, it's craziness. He found him and brought him back, and that's when I told the story about how we was hiding in the stairs because I was scared to see him and I didn't know. And he moved in that night, no questions asked, and I hated him. I didn't want to be with him, but I was. So I was kind of forced into a relationship with this 39-year-old man. I'm 17, and he ran me raggedy. He broke my heart. He made me crazy. I'm 17. I can't go to clubs and bars, but he could. And he was there every day, fucking with bitches every day. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, now he putting his hands on me. Like, a nigga had me up by my off my feet by my throat. I'm calling my daddy. My daddy was upstairs getting ready for work. I'm calling him, help. My daddy came downstairs. I thought he was coming to help me. He walked straight past and went and made him a glass of Kool-Aid in his lunch for work and then walked out the door. He said, you my daughter, but that's my friend. I'm not getting in there because you'll still be with him. And me and him will be falling out. I said, oh, nobody helped me except for his genome girlfriend. Because when he dropped me, he snatched my nameplate and threw it, and I took off the stairs. He grabbed me and he ripped my dress damn near off my body. And I ran in a room, and she blocked the door. And she was a big ass white girl. She blocked the door like, nah. And I'm talking shit like, let that motherfucker in here. Come on. Like, I was ready to fight because I was fighting niggas. I didn't give a fuck. But, bitch, let me get my bearings. Bitch, you choked me. I wasn't ready, You took me off my feet. Like, it was okay for him to treat me the way he was treating me. Like, they didn't give a fuck because that was the norm for them. They were junkies. And you better not say nothing because Eric was selling them the dope. Yeah. And as long as now I feel like in this moment, I feel like I was being pimped out. Wow. Let me sit with that. Let me sit with that. Mm. Wowzers. Mm. I mean, it was like, after that, it was like my family hated me. That's when it came out that Eric had been fucking my stepmom. And then shortly after that, she started trying to fuck me. Yes. So they both had been trying to fuck me. Nobody wanted to talk about it. Like, nobody wanted to talk about why I was angry, why I hated everything. Toddy was my only salvation. She saved my life. After that, I didn't want to jump in and out of guys' cars. And, you know, at that point, I was having to, from time to time, suck a dick just to get toothpaste because wouldn't nobody help me. It was hard for me to keep a job because after that, my grandma didn't want to babysit. My grandma ran a daycare. The whole time I was in high school, she watched it for me. So then I started getting vouchers. And then she started watching it in. But then it was like my daddy did what he did. And then, I wasn't allowed at the motherfucking house. My daddy had me arrested at my motherfucking job because they was wrong. That's when they called 241 kids on me and said I was molesting my daughter. and that I was physically abusing her and starving her to death. I hated, loved him. You know what I mean? He's mad because I wouldn't let him fuck my friend, you know? And 241 kids came. They had already had me fired from my job. Said that they charged me with criminal damaging and theft. They owed this white boy money, and he came over in the middle of the night with a hydraulic jack, took all four wheels off their car, and put sugar in their tank. Then he wrote a note and put it in the landlord's door up street from my grandma where my daddy was about to get this house, and said that they was junkies and they would never pay, and they all they do is do drugs, and he would not rent them the house. And they know who did it, but they said I did it. And my grandmother was like, "You filthy bitch, don't bring your ass back to my house." I was calling to try to get a ride to the grocery store. I was like, what? So then they called 241 kids on me and said that. So I had to open 241 kids case. And when he came, Gino Mail, he said that there was a call saying that I was molesting my daughter, that I was physically abusive to her, and I was starving her. He said, "May I look in your refrigerator?" I was staying with my cousin and his wife at the time. She's a white chick too. This is the chick that started fucking my baby daddy, but that's a whole nother story. Remember that one? Yeah, that's her. So I said, "Yeah." He goes and he looked in the refrigerator. The refrigerator is full of food, so it's the freezer. He said, "Are you willing to take a drug screen?" He came back and he sat down, and Toddy took off running. She jumped in my lap and was looking at him. And he was like, "Children that are being raped and molested or abused don't run to their molester. They don't sit in their laps. I don't believe you're abusing her. Are you willing to take a drug screen?" I said, "Yes, I'm willing." Yes. He's like, "You're willing to take one?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, they're saying that you smoke crack." I said, "What? Me? No, sir." He said, "Well, if you're willing to take it, people who do drugs are not willing to take it." He said, "We're going to close your case. We got to do a little bit more, but we're going to close the case. Do you need help with Christmas?" I said, "Yes, I do." And they helped with Christmas and provided with Christmas. So, because this was Christmas, I was so broken and hurt. And my grandmother told me never to come back over there. I was going to make them fucking pay. And that's what I did. I physically beat myself with an apple. She was laughing. Amy laughed the whole time. But for me, it wasn't funny. I was like going to take them down. And I put an apple in a sock, and I beat myself in the mouth with it. And I like pulled at my hair. I ripped my shirt, and I smeared blood on my shirt. And then I fucking called the police and said I'd been attacked by my parents. And I put a warrant out for the arrest. And my grandmother said, "Don't you ever come here again. Ever." I said, "Let them in. Let them get that motherfucker." I felt like I was always being punished no matter what. My daddy used to just, like, we got into it so badly one time. This is after this because they dropped the charges on him because I didn't go to court, but my stepmom ended up having another warrant. So when they caught up with her for this and she had the warrant, she ended up doing 2 years in the penitentiary. They dropped my father's case, and I ended up moving in with my dad. And that's when I learned how bad his habit was. And I felt like shit because the young guys would take advantage of my daddy, and they would like come and get his car for dope and then not return it. And it was a lot of that kind of shit, treating him like he wasn't shit. And I felt bad. And him and I got into it one night, and I said to him, "I'd rather you be dead than be any junkie father of mine." And he looked at me in my face, and I saw his heartbreak in that moment. No fucking bullshit. And I don't even know why I cared, because I didn't care, but I cared, you know? I felt like shit. And for like 3 nights straight, I dreamed of my death. I saw myself dying. And the last time was so devastating, I jumped out of my sleep screaming, crying. Somebody threw a bomb in my car, and I don't know how, I was trapped between a building. I couldn't open the door. So when they threw the bomb in the car, I couldn't get out. I was screaming, and it exploded. And I woke up, and I ran downstairs, and he was up at 4 in the morning just going through papers. He looked sad. And I was crying. I apologized, and I told him I was so sorry for what I said to him. But you know what? Nobody ever fucking apologized to me for nothing they ever did to me. It was after that that he was trying to fuck me. It was after that. And then again, I wasn't allowed in my grandma's house because he was trying to fuck me. And then my cousin, who I had woke up with his dick in my hand one time, he had offered me. He said, I don't want to participate. I just want to watch you and your stepmom. He called her by her name. Your stepmom fuck. I'll pay you. I said, what? At the time, he was laying downstairs on a couch in a house that he shared with my sister because this was now her man and they had kids. I never told my sister what he said. It wasn't until later that she even found out about the molestation. I could not take it no more. So it was after that that my stepmom came to me and was like, oh, somebody wanted me to ask you something. And I cut my eyes, and we had been doing coke that day, so she felt like she could. And she's like, somebody want me to ask you something. I'm like, what? Um, I told him, if you agree to it, then I would agree to it. But, you know, XYZ said he would like to watch us fuck. I was like, I already told him. Now I'm telling you, I'm not doing that. Okay, I mean, I'm just saying because he had asked, I'm not doing that. And I told him that. Now I'm offended. Now I need the coke. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I need the coke. Like the shit used to be bananas, bro. I'm like, what the fuck? So this is when I say I let myself get fat as fuck. Cause I was tired of being sexualized. I just started eating. I just ate, and I didn't want to walk, and my body would hurt, and I didn't give a fuck. I hated myself. Hated the way I looked. Like I blamed myself for a lot of shit, you know. Why are you 17 living with your baby daddy who's 39 with his mom? Your baby daddy is 39 taking you to high school. So I started drinking heavy again. I would call him to have him pick me up. I couldn't even hardly function in school. Like, cause I would start breaking out in hives. Cause my nerves was bad. He had me fucking crazy. And nobody was helping with this fucking baby. I had postpartum. He was driving me insane, bro. And nobody gave a fuck. So I would have him pick me up. I'd be in the hallways crying. I never forget it. John Carroll was like, what's wrong with you? I'm about to go in and have a drink. That's what's wrong with me. He was the only person that ever asked. It's probably why later on in life I started fucking him, but whatever. That's a different story. But I was so fucking broken. So when I started staying with him and his mom, we wasn't allowed to come downstairs at night. We had to piss in the bucket in the room. It was hot as fuck in the attic, bro. We weren't allowed to come down because the attic came down into her room. You couldn't cook in her kitchen, like it was crazy shit. And that was the one night I was staying there in the attic. I woke up, and I said I had the dream, and that's when Princess Diana died. Like everything was always traumatic. Then he almost killed my daughter. I woke up, he was drunk laying on top of my baby. Spirit woke me up. Like it was always something. Always something. Him and he's fighting me, waking me up out my sleep, fighting me. Like I just wanted God, Jesus, to fucking help. So I became dedicated. I started going to church. I just was like, well, shit, I've tried everything else. Let me try this. Because at that point, I hated God. Like, because you took my mom. So I had cut that completely off. I had already been like picking up shit and not knowing why I would know certain things, about stuff. But I did, and I never paid no attention. So I just thought maybe I need to see what this is. And the more I've tried to figure it out, and like things would affect me, and I would go to these churches, but it never felt right. It always felt devilish. That's the word. It always felt fucking devilish to me. It never felt fucking right. But I stuck with it, and I made Toddy be respectful of it. You bet not fucking snap your fingers to gospel music. I'll knock your fucking head out. I was that kind. Like people was rolling joints with Bible papers. I was appalled. What? I wouldn't eat lamb because that was Jesus to me. No. Girl, bad. I mean, I needed for God to see that I was worthy. So then my cousin brought me Iron Mountain. And that is what sparked everything. I couldn't stop. I was hungry as fuck. Because, okay, this can't be right because this feels right. And if you don't know what Iron Mountain is, Iron Mountain broke down the Clintons. It broke down, you might as well say, it told about the Illuminati, period. And everything fucking registered. It felt right. Then I discovered John Edwards and Sylvia Brown and all of the psychics. And that registered to me. That felt right to me. And then I found myself in abusive relationship after abusive relationship. My grandmother, I never moved back home. Once I moved out, moved in with Eric. My grandmother and them, now aunt stopped speaking to me. Everybody hated me. Like, I just didn't give a fuck because y'all didn't treat me right no how. Then I got in the relationship with the white guy who became abusive to me, was molesting my daughter, I didn't know. It's my belief him and my cousin was fucking because they all was fucking their boss, which was a man, which I found out later. This is the white guy said used to ask me to fuck him in his ass. That became abusive. He put his hands on me twice. And that was kind of enough. We went through too much. I was like, I'm not going through this. So I left him be because he allowed the black girls that he was fucking dope heads because he was a dope head and I didn't know it. They stole all of his money. I told that story too about how I cut all the pussies and titties out of his Playboy magazines. I'm skipping through y'all, but I'm just trying to give y'all like an understanding of all of the fucking shit that I went through. Like nothing ever was good. Nothing was ever good. I don't give a fuck what nigga I fucked with, what bitch I fucked with. It was never good. It was always horrible. My first girlfriend, she was horrible to me. I just recently blocked her and I love her. You know, we've known each other for more than 20 years now. But the hate you give is the pain you get, you know? Because she was completely broken and she showed me that women ain't shit either. She would do shit that would devastate me. We live together and she's getting dressed and I'm like, where you going? I'm going to fuck this nigga. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Like, my heart is crushed. Broken. Because you're not supposed to be like that. You're the woman. Women ain't supposed to hurt other women. You're crushing my soul. And you don't give a fuck. She fucked my little cousin in my face. Like I'm sitting there. Nobody's listening to me. Everybody's making me seem like I'm the asshole. Nobody has ever treated me right. Never. Whether it's men, women, friendships, people have always felt like they had the right to put their hands on me and treat me and stalk me. Melvin stalked me. Kenneth was abusive to me, super abusive. Oh, excuse me. I was just tired. And the more tired I became, the fatter I became. Because the more the spiritual shit was kicking in and I was understanding. I've been knowing my gift since 2004. It started to come out and I started to give messages in 2002. My gift fully awakened. I fully awakened to my gift when I was 33. 2013. And it just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And here we the fuck are. And you've seen for the y'all witnessed like at least 5 years of the abuse. Nobody's ever been right to me in my life. Never. I don't even know what that's like. I was devastated to hear Papa Candelo say Quatita doesn't know the difference between sex and love. Because I don't. I could go into a fantasy and think about getting married, and before my ring is on my hand, we're arguments and I'm scared he's gonna hit me and the marriage is over. But let me fuck. I could do that. Let me change that. So my fantasies are just fucking because we may go on a date in my fantasy, but after that it's fucking. I do not know what love is. So I give everyone else love because I never want anyone to feel unloved. And I feel like people take my love and they tarnish it and they stab me in the chest with it. And they misuse it and they take advantage of it. My June, and I call him June because he's my grandma's boyfriend. I cried so hard because June was June, but he died on the side of the road by himself. That devastated me because to think somebody was alone, the feeling of being lonely and alone is a trigger for me. And it's devastating. That's why I don't like to be with people, because I don't like rejection. Like the shit that I've gone through, from even when I've lived in Houston, I've lived in San Antonio, I've lived so many fucking places. I'm running from self. Shit never fucking changes no matter where I go. I don't give a fuck where I go. I don't give a fuck how good I am to people. I have never had a good me and my sister just got on good terms when I gave her the first message from my mom. That's what changed our relationship. I'm trying to think, that was in what, 2015 maybe? Like I've never had, and it's always like, well, what you do, you in trouble. No the fuck. I'm a good person. I'm tired of being taken advantage of. I'm tired of hate loving people. I fucking hate people, bro. I'd be like, don't fucking call my phone. You know, you hear me? Fuck they calling me for? Stop fucking texting me. I mean that shit from the bottom of my heart. People still text me. I hate people. Stop texting me. I just have a job to do and I have to do it. So then my Adina loves you. My soul loves you. Adina loves you. I don't know that. Nobody ever taught me love. But I give the love that I feel like I have. So when people say, you don't know the difference you made in my life, I can't hear that. Because I don't know who you see. I don't know who you looking at. It's not that big of a deal. I just only did this. And maybe they do that so I don't become egotistical. Maybe. I don't know. You said, do I hide in my gifts so because I don't want people to see me? That's interesting. Because I don't like people to look at me. I don't know what they see. I'm afraid if they really look at me, they'll see I'm ugly. So that's why I tell you I'm ugly before you tell me I'm ugly. And then I ask you not to judge me. But if I put my makeup on, I can pull it off, you know? But that's not my real face. And I'm afraid to be with somebody because that's not how I look when I wake up. So when Bazzy used to stare at me, it would make me uncomfortable. Because what are you looking at? Are you picking me apart? I don't know what you're thinking. And she wouldn't talk. She would just stare at me. And so I began to read her and I would understand her brokenness. So for you to try to break me the way you did, I hate you. I fucking hate her. Because you took something that I tried to give purely to you. I never fucking judged her. Never. About nothing. And you tried to destroy me and I fucking hate you. I hate you. People say hate is such a strong good. I mean it in that way. You're not supposed to hate. Why? Why are you supposed to hate? Please. Spirit told me one time, stop hating your body. Hate grows. So the more I hated myself, the bigger I got. And I knew I couldn't do it by myself. And Spirit showed me something before I had my surgery, which is what made me make my decision. Spirit showed me being fat as fuck with barbecue sauce all over my mouth. And then they showed me tiny, smiling, looking happy. And they said, either way, you're going to do this work in the public. It's about how the public will see you. And I didn't want the public to see me like that. So it's hard for me to watch my old videos. Somewhere inside of me, I'm excited that they were destroyed so people wouldn't see the real me or what I look like. Because in my mind today, I'm still that fat, ugly fucking bitch with the fucking fro or the locks. I don't know what people are seeing. Broken crayon still color, for sure. Gratitude, Maya. I just don't understand how the world say they love me, but individual people don't love me. Because even the people said they was here for me was never here for me, you know? So I accept it all. I address it and I accept it because nobody can ever use it against me. Nobody could ever use it against me because I accept it already. I accept that I'm fat. I accept that I'm ugly. I accept that my titties hang. I accept that they wrinkle. I accept it. I accept the trauma. I accept it. I can't change this shit. I maybe can change how I see myself, and I'm trying. So I help everyone that I could help. And I told the spirit years ago, I accepted them when they first came to me. This is probably like 10 years ago. I heard them say, do you want us to come and help? And I said, yes. And then again, when I did the candid and we met Adina that time, and they said, do y'all want our help? I said, yes, we do. Each time they've asked me, I said, yes. Didn't know they had already been here this whole time. So I understand when you say, I'm upset. Because I'm like, was I an experiment? Like, why you ain't been done something? Was that them in the kitchen talking that time? When I hear the voices, is that them? I don't know. What I do know is I'm accepting to my life right now. I'm accepting of it. My lower self cried like a baby and said, don't let them kill me. I cried and teared up when I watched that Mastetic, the Naya interview, I should say, because I heard myself. I feel like that on the inside, but my higher self, my Adina self, I'm ready for war. By doing this here, by acknowledging it. I'm never going to let nobody else hurt me again. So I don't give a fuck what contract you sign. You signed your life away, not mine. I can guarantee you that. You don't even know where I come from. They probably should have showed you my life instead of showing you yours. And I understand. Spirit spoke to me today. I understand why y'all want all three people. I understand. You are supposedly a powerful warlock. and you seemingly in your DNA have the ability to conjure some of the quote unquote highest of the demons. I don't know. I know your demons are no motherfucking match for the deities because y'all are using the deity's energy for demonic purposes. And for that, me and my army are going to slaughter all of you motherfuckers. Because that means you let me fuck y'all up. That means if we're the deities, that means they are using you against you. They're using your energy to destroy you. They're using you against you. And I'm going to kill all of them. So I accept you guys. You guys got to accept it and address it and accept it. I show gratitude. I love y'all to life. Peace.